Judgment will be handed down today in the private prosecution case that former President Jacob Zuma brought against prosecutor Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan. That verdict will be delivered in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Now, Zuma dragged Downer and Maughan to court after accusing the senior prosecutor of leading his confidential medical records for publication. The pair filed applications to have the matter set aside, citing an abuse of court processes. But Zuma's legal team claims he suffered personal harm and injury because of those leaks. Ziyanda Ngcobo is Newzroom Afrika's politics reporter and joins us now in our studio to take us through perhaps the important context and what to expect later on today. Ziyanda, great to speak to you as always. And this is yet another leg on this decades-long arms deal trial, essentially. Perhaps let's take a few steps and understand how it is, in fact, that we got here and how this has been a hurdle in that trial.
So basically, and that's actually the fundamental argument made by Karyn Maughan's lawyers and those of advocate Billy Downer, to say that this is yet another extension of the so-called Stalingrad tactic to delay the start of the arms deal trial. You'll know that Billy Downer is the lead prosecutor in that matter, and he was also the one who successfully prosecuted Schabir Shaik, and those charges mirror a lot of the charges that former President Jacob Zuma is facing right now. The former president, however, arguing that the fact that Karyn Maughan, had access to those medical records, he suffered personal harm. However, the other argument has been that, one, the medical records were redacted. Two, the actual document did not state the nature of the illness of former President Jacob Zuma, and just said that, he suffered an injury that would take 6 to 18 months, I think it was, for him to recover. So this matter is very critical because you'll know that there's another extension of this arms deal trial with a private prosecution brought by Zuma against President Cyril Ramaphosa. So a lot of what happens today will also likely have an implication as well with that matter, because there was an argument to say, well, has a crime been declared in this matter? And that's ultimately what we're going to hear today.
So the stakes are quite high. And, after that long back and forth between Zuma's lawyers and Downer and Maughan's lawyers, part of what was being discussed essentially is whether or not a publication of what was confidential actually happened. You mentioned the records were redacted. In layman's terms, what does that mean? It
means that basically some parts of the medical records that were submitted, the parts of it were sealed, so they were actually concealed in the actual document. But the main argument that the former president has made before the courts is that Billy Downer has breached the NPA Act, where basically information that should be privy to the NPA should not, confidential information, I should actually say, should not be leaked or passed on to others. But the caveat here is that, one, Billy Downer did not directly give the medical or the documents to Karyn Maughan. But secondly, there was a lot of debate about whether or not the papers had been filed in court. So once you've already filed documents in court, it becomes a public document. And that's exactly what Karyn Maughan's lawyers have argued, that it's a public document. Nothing in that public document states, as I've already mentioned, the nature of the illness of the former president. And, it's also got to do with the contestation on whether or not the matter should have been postponed, because the Military Health Services doctor had said that, well, actually, the former president is not well enough to stand for trial, whilst the NPA sought its own doctors, and they believed that they wanted their own doctors to assess the former president because they believe that this might not be true.
Whenever we get to a big court date around this trial, there's always that question around whether or not the main trial itself is going to begin anytime soon. And in my mind, there's obviously an opportunity of appeals, even in this trial within the trial, so to speak. So I presume the answer to that is, well, we actually just don't know yet.
We actually just don't know. You're very correct in that aspect. But what many have said is that what the former president has aimed to do is to ensure that there are criminal charges against Billy Downer, so that he's not able to continue being the lead prosecutor in the arms deal matter. And that's what many have criticized the former president for, to say it's got nothing to do with the law. It's got nothing to do with this possible, this harm, personal harm and injury that he suffered. But it's got more to do with actually trying to ensure, with Karyn Maughan, to intimidate her. That's the argument that she made, to intimidate her from reporting, continuing her reporting on this arms deal matter. And Billy Downer, like I said, having that institutional memory, having successfully prosecuted Schabir Shaik.
Absolutely. Well, no matter how things go today, it's certainly going to be a significant one. Ziyanda Ngcobo, thanks very much indeed. She's our politics reporter, helping us sort of connect the dots in the lead up to that judgment being delivered today.